let's get started. Here we go. I'm using my 8-quart Instapot, and I've got it heating up on saute. I got some round steaks, round bottom steaks. They're thinly sliced. All right, so we've got the Instapot going. I just put some peanut oil in there. And now I'm fixing to put some sesame seed. This is the main oil that I want. So I'm gonna swish that around. Can you just smell that sesame seed oil? Oh, smells so good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour my onions and my bell peppers in there and let them start sauteing up a little bit. Got some here on the side. Okay, so I'm gonna let those saute for a minute. While these are sauteing, I'm gonna push this little big boy right here to the side, and we're gonna go ahead and season our meat. That's gonna take a little bit to saute, because even though it was hot, I did put frozen bell peppers in there. So now let's take a look at, now this meat is, like I said, it was a bottom, it's called a bottom round selection, and it had like 4 little steaks in there, and I just cut them up into thinly slices, just like that. Just thinly sliced. I'm going to pour some peanut oil. You know I love my peanut oil, and I'm just going to do a little bit. I don't want a lot of peanut oil. I'm going to do just a little bit. I just want enough that will coat the meat and will help the seasons adhere to it. I'm going to add some salt, and here's a little hint if y'all don't already do it. I'm sure everybody does it, but if you don't, for all you new cooks out there, if you don't, if it's hard to see with salt, if you're using something like this and this always pops open, always hold it down like this and always go against your hand, so that way you can feel the salt and you can gauge. If you can't see it, you can always gauge it and you can feel it against your hand. Now, normally I don't wear a glove, but I did kind of nick my finger earlier, and I just don't want to take the chance of it opening up or getting some extra protein in there that we really don't need. Okay, so then we do some garlic pepper. I use the cracked pepper. I am a cracked pepper fan. Give me the whole pepper so I can mortar it, or give me the thing with the little twisty thing. I love me some pepper. All right, so I'm gonna put that in there. And then of course, you've got to have garlic. You just got to have the garlic. I can't cook without garlic. If that's one ingredient I'm going to have, it's going to be salt, pepper, and garlic. I can't pick just one. It's got to be those 3. You give me those 3 and I'm gonna whip it up in the kitchen. Okay, so we've got those in there like that. I'm going to take some of this garlic right here. Let me get a little measuring cup. A little measuring. And I'm going to put about a half a teaspoon, 2 tablespoons. That's what this is just 2 teaspoons in the meat like that. Now, if you're not doing this recipe in the Instapot, at this time you could coat it with some cornstarch. But because I'm putting it in the Instapot and I don't want it to thicken up real quick, I'm going to save that for last. But if you were frying it in the pan, this would be a good time to add your cornstarch, a tablespoon of cornstarch. So that way it will thicken up as you cook. Because, you know, when you have Asian food, it's not like a sauce. It's kind of, and it's not like a thick gravy, but it's a little bit thicker than a sauce. So we've got that going right there, and I'm going to put beef broth in just a minute as soon as I get my meat where I get it all seasoned up. I'm going to use, no, you know what, I bought a new soy sauce. My local market, family-owned market, had a great sale on Asian. Normally I don't keep a lot of Asian stuff, but they had a great sale on some Asian stuff. So I'm trying this. It's coconut soy sauce. So a better alternative to the salty soy sauce. So I'm just gonna put some of this in here and hopefully it'll taste okay. But, so I'm gonna put that in here. Now I will be making some sticky rice like I did with the pepper chicken. And I'm gonna make that rice the same way. So if you wanna see how I'm doing the rice, go ahead and check out that video on the peppered chicken. All right, so I'm gonna put a little Hoisin sauce, Hussein sauce is what I jokingly call it. Just put, I don't measure, I kind of just gauge by what I think my family will like. This is almost, it's a typical Asian taste. It's, you know, it's just a typical Asian sauce that I think is in almost every dish. And so I'm going to put that in there. And then to sweeten it up, I'm going to put a little bit of teriyaki because I've got one that loves teriyaki. And get that done in there. Okay, so it looks like my meat is all seasoned and ready to go. Get these little babies out of the way. And stir this up one more time. I'm gonna put a little bit more sesame seed in this right here. Scooch this way so you can see it. Just a little bit more. I love that sesame seed oil. And I mainly buy it. Pour this in here now. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to let it saute. Just gonna let it saute up. And that's gonna take a few minutes. Take a look. Can you see? Oh, looky there. Some nice and brown. Now, because these are thinly sliced, it's not gonna take any time to cook them. I will probably cook them for about 20 minutes total, 15 minutes set as pressure cooker, probably take about 5 minutes to set for steam. Pour some beef broth in there. Now, this is probably about a half a cup, maybe 3/4 a cup. It was just left over. I don't ever measure. I just gauge by what it looks like. And I think it looks okay. Most of the meat is submerged under the water, and that's kind of what I'm going for, is I just want it submerged under the water. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and set the pressure cooker. Normally I have the lid on the side right here, but for some reason I put it way out of my reach. Okay, so when you're getting ready to do just before you pressure cook, you get your pressure cook on, I'm gonna turn it off and I'm gonna put cancel because I have been sauteing. I wanna make sure that there's nothing sticky on the bottom, that there's no burnt anything on the bottom, that's all nice and up, that I got all that goodness off the bottom. All right. So while that's off, I'm going to check and make sure that my seal is properly inserted. I did have to change it because I did some baking yesterday with it. So I changed it from my dessert seal to my cooking seal. I want to make sure that I have this little black knob, because this black knob, if it's not on there, it will not set at all and it'll cause a mess because it'll spew everywhere. So you want to make sure that it's on sealing and not venting. Make sure that there's nothing there to obstruct that from standing, and everything looks good. So nothing in my way right here. You have this little thing right here, right there. Sometimes that's empty and sometimes it'll fill up. It's just an overflow of you know, stuff draining from here, from your little side right here. But when you're cleaning your Instapot, don't forget to check it. Always make sure that it's on there, for one, and two, that when you clean it, that you check it so that way if it's full and it's caught some stuff, that it's not just, you're not putting it back in place for it to be there for days, and then you go pull your Instapot or you start something smelling, you know, then you realize that's what it is. So just go ahead and You know, because a lot of people say, well, my Instapot has an odor, my Instapot has an odor. Sometimes you haven't pulled this off and cleaned it, because a lot of people, especially people new to the Instapot, don't even think about this. So always make sure that you check that little thingy right there. And if you smell an odor, check that right there and make sure that that's not the cause of what you're smelling in your Instapot. Okay, so now with that being said, let's go ahead and push this down. I'm going to turn my Instapot back on under pressure cook. I'm going to set it for 15 minutes. It'll probably take about 20 because it'll take about that long for it to set up. So there it goes. Now it's set. When you set your Instapot on pressure cook and it doesn't set right away, that's okay. It's doing what it's supposed to do. You hear that beeping? It says that it's on. What it's going to do is it's got to build up pressure. That can take anywhere from 2 to 5 to 10 minutes for it to build up. It just depends on how much water is in there and what you're cooking. So you will know that it's setting when this little button right here, you see this right here? Make sure that this is on sealing and not venting. And then when it gets ready to set, you're gonna see this little button start shaking. And you might even see it spitting out some steam or something. It's not gonna be enough to make a mess. You're just gonna start seeing it, you know, it might start spitting, it doesn't always, but sometimes it will. But you'll hear it start to shake and you'll hear like a noise. And then when it gets ready to seal, it'll go shh. You'll hear it like shh. And then when it does that, in the next few seconds, your Instapot is going to set the timer and then it's going to count. So don't panic if the Instapot doesn't start counting down immediately, especially if you're doing a pressure cook, because it's got to seal. And then when it gets, just before it gets ready to set, you'll see this start acting crazy. For the most part, I mean, sometimes it won't spew or anything like that, but you'll hear it. And then you'll hear that where it's sealed. And then this little red, whatever your color is, I don't know if they're all red, but it'll be raised. And it's not going to seal until that little button has raised above. And there's a difference in it. You can see it. So don't panic. Just give it a few minutes. It can take as long as 8 to 10 minutes, you know, depending on what you have in there. I'm hoping that this won't take too long to set, but if it does, that's okay. Now another thing is, I always keep my Instapot on keep warm. I don't ever turn my keep warm button off, and here's why. If you turn your keep warm button off, when the Instapot is done, it will say end and it won't do a countdown. So if you have to do a natural release on something, say if you got to do a natural release on 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you're doing a natural release. Well, if you don't have that keep warm button on, your machine is not going to tell you how long the Instapot has been off and how long it's been sitting there for a natural release. So make sure that if you're going to do a natural release, and with most meats you have to do a natural release. In this case, I'm not doing a natural release because I'm going to, as soon as it's done, I'm going to open it up, stir it, add my my cornstarch mixture, and then once that's added, I'm going to add my broccoli, seal it back up, and do it for another few minutes. So and then I will naturally let it release at the final. But keep your keep warm button on if you have to do a natural release, so that way you know the amount of time that it's been sitting there. If you turn off your keep warm button, then when the pressure cooked has done, it's just going to say end, and that's it. So if you don't need to know how long the natural release has been, then don't even worry about the keep warm button. But it's always nice to have the keep warm button just in case you get tied away or pulled away from your Instapot and it's ready. It'll keep your food warm too. So it's just a good idea to keep the keep warm button on. Listen. Can you hear that? I don't know if you can see the steam. It's shaking just a little bit. See, it's popping up, it's kind of moving. Bam, it's sealed. Started again. If you want to see how I'm doing the rice, go ahead and watch the pepper chicken video, and it'll tell you exactly how to do the rice. But what I did here is I put 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. When you're working with cornstarch, you want to use equal amounts of liquid to equal amounts of your cornstarch. So I put 2 tablespoons in here. So I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of soy sauce right here, because I want it flavored, and I really don't want to add any salt or anything any more to it. I don't want to add any more salt because I have the soy sauce in there. I want to, you know, and that's a lot of salt in itself. And then I'm gonna shake this up. This is my hoisin sauce or hoisin sauce. I don't really know how to say it, but whoops. It's just this nice little thick, and I think it's in most dishes. And then I'm just going to see, there it goes. It's already set. All right, and then I've got a little beef broth in here, so I'm just gonna pour that in there, kind of swish it around. It's not gonna be enough to make any difference at all. And then I'm going to get my whisk and just whisk that up just like that. And you want to try to get all of the white stuff incorporated into the liquid, because it will not absorb. I mean, it will remain white if once you put it in your dish. So try to make sure that it's all incorporated and nicely mixed up, so that way when you go to put it inside of your meal, there won't be any white clumps. See? And that's it. Now I'm gonna let that all meld together while my meat is cooking, and then when it gets done, I will get ready to put that in there along with the broccoli. And we've got, woo, looky there, looky there. Now you can always put your Instapot right here. Your water will drain into this little catch right here, and then remember, it'll go into that right there. So, and just get into a habit of checking that side right there. Looky, looky, looky. Look at that. Take a look at that. Don't that look delicious? I know that's making your mouth water. Oh, if you could smell it, because it sure smells good. Now I'm going to put my, see how it's kind of congealed, sitting there waiting. You kind of want that, so that's why I made it as soon as I did. Now I'm going to just scrape it in there, give it a good mix right there. Ooh, a little hot. Stir that up a little bit, and you can kind of see it already thickening. You can kind of tell it's already starting to get a little bit thick. And when I cook it, I'm gonna put a little bit in here so that way I can get the rest of that out. Kind of mix the broccoli with some cauliflower. So we'll just have a little bit of a mix. I'm just gonna kind of pour it all in there, just like that. And set this timer. I'm gonna set it for about 2 minutes. I don't really want the broccoli soggy, so to get it warm and to keep it good with everything, see, look at that. Doesn't that just look delicious right here? Look, take a look at that. And oh man, give it about 2 more minutes and dinner will be served. And look how beautiful this came out. I mean, if you could smell it. The meat is nice and tender, just kind of melts in your mouth. The rice is nice and sticky. Look at that. The sauce is perfect. It smells so good. And there you go. Here's what's cooking tonight. I hope you enjoy what you're cooking in your kitchen tonight. And if you don't have your Instapot out, bring it out. Don't be afraid of it. Use that baby, because it will become your best friend.